Hello people, I think we are live. I've spent my last 5 minutes sat in my car with this mic, trying to link it up to my laptop, which is sat next to me as a little passenger princess. Sorry, case. You get him replaced by the MacBook Pro. MacBook Pro? Wow, this is going to be an episode of bloopers, some will say. Like the amount of times I've listened to podcasts and I've heard people be like, oh, should we listen back to our first episode? I'm like, that's so funny. And now I'm kind of sat here realising that is going to be me, hopefully, in a few years' time, looking back on this, being like, yeah, why is bro saying all this shit? But I'm currently sat in my car, Tango Mango for the audio viewers, because I'm doing this as a video, which will go up on my YouTube channel as well. But also, will go on Spotify. So, welcome people to Pastries, Pumps and Pondering. Now, you're probably thinking, Drew, why the fuck have you made a podcast? Well, to be honest, first of all, I really enjoy podcasts myself. I do find myself listening to the majority of the music. Like, I only ever really listen to music in the gym, to be honest. Other than that, I think it's really good to get people's external opinions and views and ideologies on situations which you can apply to your life. And I thought, you know what? Why don't I? So yeah, here we go. The original name of the podcast was going to be Coffee, Curls and Conversations, but somebody's already got it. Somebody has already got it, and I'm fuming about it, not going to lie. But I do like the sound of Pastries, Pumps and Pondering more, because the word pondering, I think specifically, kind of fits what I want this podcast to be. And what do I want this podcast to be? So, first of all, if you don't know me, what I do for a living is I'm an online coach, mate. Link in bio. That's the first of many fucking plugs, obviously, going to be in the podcast. But I also do bodybuilding. So, again, I think it's going to be quite a prevalent topic. But I also don't want this podcast to be all about that, because that is what my 24/7 day life is about, or at least 80% of my life is about. And I'm so happy with that. I'm so happy with my life being 80% nerdy gym stuff. But there is another 20% side of me where I've got other things, you know what I mean? Like, believe it or not. So yeah, that's what I kind of want this podcast to be about, is dabbling into some of those things and what those stuff means. But also, the main reason I want to make this podcast is the amount of clients, the amount of friends I speak to. And obviously I'm 23 years old. And the amount of friends I speak to where I'm very much aware of the problems and the personal conflicts and the internal conflicts people have in their 20s, as I do. And I think the main overarching thing for this podcast, it really brings me back to what I said in a consultation with my therapist. I know, I'm already fucking going into it crazy. And I got on my call with big up Tom. I got a call with Tom, my therapist. I'm not going to say his second name because Tom's mine. But basically we spoke about like why I wanted to go to therapy. And I said to him, I was like, look, Tom, I don't think I've got anything really, really big for you, like here. Like, I'm just simply, at the time I was 21, I'm 23 now, crazy. But I was like, Tom, I'm a 21-year-old man, and at the time I was in third year university, and I was like, I'm just trying to navigate common internal conflicts which a normal 21-year-old would have. And it was that simple. And figure out the best way to appropriately go about them, and have someone kind of just keep an eye over that. And I think something like therapy is fucking awesome. For context, my mother is a therapist, so I've been brought up around that environment, and I think it's fucking awesome work, and I think it should be treated a little bit more in the UK like it's treated in places like America and Europe, where it's like kind of like physical health in terms of exercising your mental health and thoughts and ideologies and views and perspectives on circumstances from your daily life and big events and etc. So that is the main reason I wanted to kind of start this podcast, is for people who are maybe listening to this whilst they're in the gym, doing cardio, driving. Personally, I love a little podcast whilst I drive, especially a little long distance drive. There's nothing better than a little yap, and I can't promise it's going to be an hour and a half one, because quite frankly, I don't know how to podcast. I just know how to yap. But that is the main reason why I was like, you know what, I think this would provide so many people with benefits. And if you can relate and take positives away from that, and if I could provide one bit of value to somebody listening to this, I see that as kind of a net win. So yeah, let me tell you a little bit about myself. Like, I evidently will get a bit of a structure with this podcast eventually, but I was sat there this evening. It's a Friday night, by the way, and I'm sat in my car doing a podcast. If that doesn't say the kind of weird shit you do in your 20s, I don't know what does. But I was sat there and I was like, I'm going to do that podcast I talked about, because I've been thinking about it for a while. I've kind of come up with the name, the ideologies behind why I wanted to do it, and just double checked it was for legitimate reasons. And I got a little bit of anxiety about making this podcast, because like, I was like, fuck's sake, I've got to be a little bit vulnerable. And part of me like gets a little bit nervous about that, because I'm fucking human, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to share stuff sometimes, in which some stuff I won't share in here, arguably, because I do like having myself a little bit of a private life, but like, I want to make sure that, again, I provide value. So who am I? Where am I from? What do I do? My name's Drew Wolfenden, if you're looking for a plug on Instagram, come on. I'm 23 years old. I finished university last June. I went to Leeds Beckett, come on. And I went to actually go do rugby more than anything, but then I got heavily concussed a few times and kind of just ended up there. But the main reason why I went to uni was to do sports and exercise science. So I graduated that last year, which was an interesting degree, may I say my slightest. But I found myself self-employed from third year university in an accidental way. I never meant to be self-employed. I was kind of just like a lot of people are, and again, there's nothing wrong with this in the slightest. I was like a lot of people are in their 20s, where it's like you kind of go to uni just to give you a bit of direction. And my kind of thoughts of uni are for myself and my personal experiences is university provided me with a purpose to get out of my hometown, which I think for my life really helped. Now, do I actually think the side of university for education helped me significantly? No. Quite frankly, no. I spent a good bit of my time arguing with lectures because I quite frankly really am a nerd about the gym. I did learn how to program effectively marathon runners, which is great for when a client comes to me and I'm like, I've got a 10k to do. I'm like, yeah, sweet, polarized training theory, let's get at it, zone 3, zone 1. But the main reason why I went is to do sports and exercise science. And then effectively in first year uni, one of my friends came up to me, big up Lewis if you're listening, don't know if he'll be listening, and he was like, yo Drew, like, would you be able to do me like a weightlifting program? And I was about 4 years into lifting at this point, and I was a lot more uneducated than I am now. And he came to me and was like, oh, would you do me a weightlifting program? I'll give you a tenner. I was like, yeah. And he was like, it could be like the start or something. Like, and he kind of had to like give me a little bit of a push and be like, you could sell these programs. Because at the time I was posting a lot on TikTok, because quite frankly I just wanted the external validation of getting 10,000 followers. So I posted every single day for the first year of uni to get 10,000 followers. And eventually I did, and I felt numb when I hit it, and I was like, wow, that was pretty pointless. But I did sell a few programs, which again helped a few people, and that kind of pushed me into the online coaching world. Now, the online coaching world, which what I do for a living now, is primarily filled with one of three people: PTs looking to go online, fitness influencers who have got AI like software or AI companies behind them, and effectively they do some of the things themselves. Obviously I don't actually know how it kind of works. I just know fitness influencers use companies and they're kind of like the face of them, and then the company gets a commission. And then the third person is people like myself. I am very much a fond believer, for work you should do one of two things. And I think I heard this originally off Gary Vee, so I'm not going to fucking steal it. But it's, number one, something you are fucking good at. Also, there's going to be a lot of swearing in this podcast, so if there's any children around, I do apologise. Number one, something you're incredibly good at. Or number two, you incredibly love. One of the two. And that's a spectrum. And find yourself on there somewhere. Now, in regards to that, I'd say I'm pretty decent at bodybuilding. I've got an alright set of genetics. I wouldn't say the best, but I really enjoy it. It really kind of lights a little fire inside of me. And effectively, I fit in that category. So effectively what I do for a living is people come to me from all over the world. I've been with clients from America, Mexico, Australia, Netherlands, Egypt, fucking you name it. I've been with a lot of clients. One who stayed loyal throughout the whole time, because I know you'll be listening, Bardia from Norway. Love you, mate. And yeah, they come to me and they go, "Hi Drew, I've got this goal." And I go, "Sweet, let's get cracking. Let's see if I can first of all facilitate that." Because if someone came to me and were like, "Yeah, like I want to do, I don't know, I want to be a jiu-jitsu champion," I'd just be like, "Bro, I'm not your guy. I'm not your guy. There's somewhere going to be out there who can do it better than me for cheaper." Real simple. Real simple. And I've done that to people before. However, I'm aware a lot of people in this industry won't. But effectively, they come to me with a goal. I make them a program to get them to that goal, whether that's weightlifting or running or high rocks, etc. My speciality is a lot more obviously within kind of muscle hypertrophy and gaining muscle. I also make them a food approach, whether that's a strict meal plan, a flexible meal plan, a carb loading strategy for their runs, etc. And I basically monitor and assess data they produce on a weekly basis, whether that's numbers or whether that's words, by jumping on a call with them, and we manipulate stuff to make sure they get to their goals in a time period they need to be in the goals. That probably sounds like a whole sales pitch. I promise you it's not. It's actually just, I'm genuinely trying to describe what I do for a living in a simple process. But I accidentally ended up in that. I didn't mean to. And like by third year university, I was earning like a decent amount. When I say decent amount, I'm not going to disclose numbers on here, but like I was earning more than I'd ever earned before at a part-time job, and I was like, that's pretty cool, and it was pretty cool, and it fucking is still to this day. And it's sometimes like I've got to remind myself that being self-employed, obviously there's so many benefits, and I love my job, but doesn't mean there isn't days where I don't wake up and I'm like, oh, work's been hard today. Like, it would be stupid of me to do that just because I love what I do. It's still hard. And again, part of me is almost like, I pushed on that when I finished university, because I was like, it's either that or a master's. And I thought, you know what, I'll do my own master's at home, because it's going to be a lot more specific, and I'm going to push into what I want to do more, compared to at university where they're going to teach me about some silly stuff, which I don't really care about, quite frank. I may still go to university and do a master's later on in my 20s. If you know what, one day I fall out of love with coaching and I go, you know what, like that doesn't serve me anymore. Maybe one day, I've said this to one of my mates the other day, one day I'll maybe go to university and I'll do, I don't know, endocrinology, and I'll become a phlebotomist, which is where they take bloods and stuff, because I like reading blood work. It's one of my like more recent ventures. It's quite fun. So yeah, that's my name. That's my age. Where am I from? I'm from like Manchester, UK, somewhere around there. I'm not going to disclose that. If you know me, I'm going to say the words Cheshire instead. Okay, that's more specific, because if you can't tell, I'm not necessarily fucking H. But I went to uni in Leeds. I've lived in Leeds for 4 years. I'm currently finding myself at home with my parents, which is a bit of a weird paradox. I love my parents to bits. I've actually got their fucking birthdays tattooed on the side of my arm. Unfortunately, not the bank pins. Joking, mum and dad, love you. But I find myself at home. And again, it's one of those weird things which, because I've lived outside of home, not only just in the uni sense, but post-uni I moved out straight away. Well, not straight away, after a few months of like, I want to say the word travelling, but it was more like intermittent, spontaneous trips. It wasn't like Southeast Asia, find yourself, go do a few lines and stuff like that, which a lot of people do. So I currently found myself at home with a full-time job. I could probably count my close friends on two hands, if not one. And I think that's also a really interesting topic, which I'll get into eventually on this podcast, is friendships into your 20s, because I think they are just as complicated as relationships in your 20s, because I'm going to fucking touch on that all. So yeah, I'm trying to think of other things I need to go through to kind of display myself to you guys. Let me turn this brightness up a little bit. Sorry, audio listeners, I know you probably don't care about me turning up the brightness on the video, but if you wanna, and you're obviously watching on YouTube whilst you're eating your food, game's a game. That's my name, that's my age. If you want my height, I'm 5'8", I'm a hella short king. So yeah, like, and I've always found myself, and like a little bit more about myself is as much as I'm a bodybuilder, like, I don't bodybuild because I love the sport of bodybuilding. Like, I'm a bit of a weirdo like that, like, and I'm not afraid to admit that, because I don't see there's like any disrespect within that. Like, I just love the process of bodybuilding. I think it brings me tremendous amount of self-confidence and joy. Bodybuilding as a sport, if you don't know, you step on a bodybuilding stage in a very, very small thong, effectively, and you pose for a bit. But for me, it's more about the process of kind of, I'm going to use a quote for the first time in the podcast, winning the day. So yeah, like, it's the process of that for me, which is awesome. I've done 2 preps now. I've competed in 4 shows. So my last prep was 2023, obviously 2 years ago. It was a heavy prep. It was a fucking heavy prep. Jesus. Like, put it this way, I may have dirty bulked within university and got to about 110 kilos at 5'8". Yep, you heard that right. Which meant then when I tried to prep, I obviously had to lose, in the end, peak bulk to peak prep. It was about 43 kilos, 95 pounds. So it was a hell of a prep, don't get me wrong. It was great, and it kind of ignited my self-confidence a lot. Like, I would say that's kind of where, like, I don't want to use the word personal development, but that's when pretty simply, I'm going to say it straight, clip this shit. That 2023 prep was when I first started to actually fucking back myself and be like, Drew, you say stuff and you do it, which I thought was really cool. And it may sound arrogant. If you take that as arrogant, I'm so sorry. I promise you it's not. It's just me actually saying I'm proud of myself for once. Because I'm a bit of an overworker, a bit of a workaholic, a bit of a perfectionist. Probably a little bit on the spectrum, to be honest, as well. I'm currently getting assessed for ADHD. Yeah, like probably fucking 90% of the population is. Also, I do apologise. It's getting a little bit darker. It's hitting that 8 o'clock and it's September. It's almost September, so it is getting a little bit darker within this podcast. But yeah, like, the sport of bodybuilding, necessarily to me, is almost like a vector. Not like vector, steal the moon and shit, but like more like it's a reason for me to push every day and give me a structure. Like, if I didn't compete in bodybuilding, I would still most likely live the same life. And when I say most likely, most definitely. I'm pretty structured and pretty rigid. I like to do hard things. I find that really enjoyable. Like, some of my favourite pastimes over the last few weeks is a specific exercise in the gym. If you're a gym nerd, it's the Nautilus hack squat. I've got 4 to 7 reps set on it, meaning I have to use quite a heavy weight. And if I don't, quote unquote, lock in, I will end up just pinned after 1 rep. And when I say pinned, I don't mean like unnatty pinned, because I'm a hella natty, but like broken at the bottom. But yeah, like, bodybuilding for me is and again, it's something I do constantly question, is like my future in bodybuilding. Again, it does worry me sometimes, and if this podcast is going to be on the basis of me being honest and me being really honest, like, sometimes I do worry. Like, I enjoy and I love the process of bodybuilding, but I don't enjoy stepping on stage. Like, I hear people all the time be like, oh, I get on stage and I love bodybuilding. Oh, like, I was up there and I was doing my thing. Like, honestly, I thrive more in the post-show meal with my family and my friends, because that genuinely means a lot more to me. Like, the people I love, the people can see that I put in my hard work, and this is just the cherry on top if I get a medal. Saying that, I'm competing again next year. I've just finished pre-prep. I pulled off 15 kilos in 10 weeks. So if you want to know the nerdy stuff, it was first week, pull off a glycogen and water and stuff like that. And then I worked at a maximum rate of weight loss of 1.2 kilos over 9 weeks, which then pushed me to around 11.8 kilos in 9 weeks. And then the first 3.2 kilos, was in the first week, and it was just hella water. But I'll be competing again next year. And I've asked myself a few times, like, what do I want out of competing next year? First of all, it's my last time as a junior, so I'm under 23. So I will not be ever in my life under 23 again. Fucking hell. And don't get me started. That's another podcast which needs to be said about, what's the word? The fact that we are infinite beings on this earth and shit after life. Like, that stuff sends me an existential crisis. So you'll have to get me on a good day to talk about that on a podcast. Let me just turn my light on in my car. There we go. That makes everything a little bit lighter. Also, the reason why I did the podcast in my car is because I was like, you know what, like, some of the best conversations I've ever had are in a car. And I thought it was a bit of a chilled, enclosed environment for me just to yap. What was I saying? Yeah, so I'm competing again in 2026, because it's August 2025 currently. And I've asked myself a few times, what are my aims to compete? And obviously it's my last year as a junior, so like, I think I'll kick myself if I didn't. Like, and if I do and I don't enjoy it, then like, quite frankly, we'll just see what happens after that. But I think it's another reason to show myself what I'm made of, show the work I've done. I've worked tremendously hard over the last 2 years. It's been 2 years yesterday was since I last competed. And if you follow me on Instagram, you'll be able to see all the fucking photos of whatever, because I advertise it like shit. But so prep was starting in like January, February, and I've asked myself, except from being a junior, what am I getting out of it? First of all, I get what I get always out of it, doing something hard. I think there's a Japanese law or something which talks about I think it's called ikigai. Is it ikigai? Where it talks about doing something really hard once a year, which changes your perspectives and thoughts around stuff. And that prep in 23 did that for me. And that prep in 25 will do that for me. But I'll be in a much better spot and probably a much more competitive spot, but it doesn't change the reason why I do it. Because I'm kind of going for a bit more of a smarter prep this time compared to a harder prep. Because I'm starting about 20 or 30 kilos lighter. But also, I've said, there is a few little things and on a surface level, and again, I've sat here and questioned it, and I say it very hollowly because I know for a fact it's deeper down, it's more about me showing myself I can do hard stuff. But like on a surface materialistic level, again, I'm human, I'd love to get a fucking sword. I'd love to get a sword. I don't know if you're listening and you're not in the bodybuilding community, usually at shows you win like trophies, and respectfully to the show federations, yeah, they're usually pretty shitty, just trophies, which I assume they've got off Team U. Some federations though offer swords, and I've seen samurai swords. But also some one of them was like an axe or like a Thor's hammer, and I'm like, that's epic. I just think of it office desk lore. But also, like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scout out some shows next year, because the calendar's not out yet, so I don't really know. But see if there's any IFBB Pro cards on the table. I know there's a tested show, which obviously fits my kind of criteria, but that's a very competitive show. And again, I sit here and I question, would I be able to win that? Because there's some absolute freaks who show up of muscle. But also, like, the idea of making it in a little bit of a journey and an event. Like, if there's any Europe shows where there's an IFBB Pro qualifier, like, I would back myself to show up and be competitive with the condition I plan to do it at, like low body fat. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm up to with bodybuilding in that aspect. It's hard, it's tricky, but I do it because I love the process. And a lot of you will be listening because you've been following me on my bodybuilding journey. And that's awesome, you know what I mean? Like, I appreciate you following me for however long you followed me. I think I started posting 3 years in, and I'm now 7.5 years in. So I've been posting for the last 4.5 years, give or take a little bit. And like through all my injuries and stuff like that, like I've never really had any tremendous injuries. It's kind of ever since I stopped playing rugby. Again, another avenue to go. And I used to play rugby. I played at an alright level. I played county. But quite frankly, I had a few bad injuries. I've got a few screws within my shin. So yeah, that causes me issues. But mainly I got hit in the head a few times. And that does on a little bit of a deeper level sometimes worry me. When I say got hit in the head, I mean like concussions, like 2 or 3 bad ones. Like one of them I didn't even know my dad's name. Like I didn't know my name. Didn't know where I was. Don't remember it to this day. Don't remember the first 3 months of college. So when I joke about it, there's a level of serious undertone to that. But like again, rugby served its purpose, and that's the only difference is like, that was fun. I really enjoyed rugby, but like it was a lot more social, but it also like for me, like it got to a point where I just didn't enjoy it. Like, I was actually just like more anxious to get on the pitch. And I played fullback, so this was before as well I'd fully developed and like grown into a man. I wouldn't say I'm a man now. Like, I pay my taxes, I pay council tax, I now pay my insurance from his car, which I'm sitting in. So, Logan, can I write this off as a business expense? Because it's technically an office, a filming studio. I'm joking, by the way. I'm joking, Logan, if you are listening. Logan's my accountant. Big up, Logan. Let me turn these lights back on. But, actually, you know what? Sorry, audio listeners. YouTube listeners, I'm just going to take a sip of my Tango because it's been festering and getting warm here. So, yeah, I did used to play rugby. I also used to play football. I was just a very sporty kid going on. And again, it's one of those things, like, I'm so up for anything nowadays. Like, I play paddle. I at the moment, I do the most unorthodox thing for a bodybuilder. Like, once a week, I go on a bike ride. It's quite funny. The amount of times I've always been hit by a car is crazy. But yeah, that's kind of just like a little bit about myself in regards to who I am, what I kind of believe in. And I want to talk about a theory, like a little bit of an ideology, just to set the tone for the podcast. So, like I said, last year, I finished uni, and it got to August time, and I was like, wow, I've spent the first 8 months of this year in a library, stoned off my nut on white monsters and stuff. And I was like, I kind of want to do something. Like, I was like, I'm earning now, which is good. I'm living at home, and before I move out, I was like, I want to kind of, quite frankly, do some stuff and do some cool stuff. So I went to a few different places. Some of them with friends, some with my girlfriend. So I went to Greece, I went to Madeira. Madeira's awesome. I've always said to Case, I've always said, like, I would love to retire in somewhere like Madeira. I think it's awesome. If you have never been, I'd recommend. I went to Morocco, which was culturally so eye-opening. I went to Budapest. I went to Poland in January. Like, I went travelling a little bit, and an idea I've been playing with a little bit this year is I find a lot of people associate their life with the UK as simply just their friends, which obviously is a net positive, but also just like shit weather and work. And when they go away, obviously it's better weather and you don't work whilst you're away. And I've fallen into this trap as well. And there's this concept which I've been thinking of, which is watering the garden where you are. So I think, again, it's always, I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase, the grass is greener, but it's like the grass isn't greener, the grass is greener where you water it. And I think that's so relevant in that sort of debate of everybody thinks of abroad as fucking awesome because they've never tried to water their life in the UK. And like recently when I've been like having urges to get on a flight and go somewhere, like I thought, okay, can I put that finance towards making my life better in the UK? So again, for example, very small thing, I bought myself a nice coffee machine a few months ago. And I sit here and say this to you fucking genuinely. I enjoy that coffee machine every single morning as part of my morning routine. I take my little flat white flask and I walk around the block and I thoroughly enjoy it. I also make decafs for my mum, which is a tremendous experience. And I also make coffees for my dad. And it brings me a sense of joy and enjoyment within my morning routine. Also, another thing that I've done recently is I've bought myself a car. Okay? A materialistic thing, which, don't get me wrong, I sat there and I asked myself about 10, fucking 15, 20 times, probably more, if I was doing it for the right reason. And I came out and I was like, yeah, like, I am doing this for the right reason. Again, it's watering the grass in the UK. Like, it makes my general experience of travelling to places, whether that's the shops, clients, the gym, like, more enjoyable. And if I put those finances into travelling abroad, yeah, I'd gain loads of experience. And this isn't me shitting on travelling. But I think it's just an interesting concept. I want to get a dog at some point. I want to get a little staffy. Again, my job is majority getting calls, doing check-ins, walking, training. It would fit right in. Just at the moment, obviously, like I said, I'm living at home. So I can't really put that stress on my parents, even though my parents would most likely be fine with it. Sorry, mother, father, if you're listening. I haven't even asked you. But like, I would want to do that in my own place. Especially because now I'm confident in myself that I can financially support myself, and I can live on my own if I wanted to. But again, I think it's a really interesting concept about what can you do. And again, if you're listening to this, feel free to tell me to fuck off. What can you do to make your life better in the UK instead of putting those finances towards fueling this fantasy of any time you jump on a Ryanair flight, your dopamine doubles? And it's like, that's a really interesting concept. Like, instead of spending, I don't know, 500 quid on a holiday, and this is not me saying don't go on holidays, because I think we all need a little holiday, and experiencing cultures is some of the best things I've ever done. But could you take those finances which you'd spend abroad and put them into the UK and make your life better? And again, this is me saying this just from a completely third-party perspective, and it's something I've been asking myself, so that's why I'd want to portray it to you, because I think it's a really interesting concept. I really do. So yeah, there's a few things I've been doing to make my life a little bit better in the UK, so I don't fantasize the idea of getting on a plane and abroad so much. And again, it's like, I'm 23. Most people finish university and go backpacking Southeast Asia. Again, nothing wrong with that. I feel like I need to put a disclaimer just at the bottom of this video, be like, nothing wrong with that, although there's nothing wrong with it. This is just me kind of brain farting in total, which I've been doing for 32 minutes now. But it's like that ideology again of, yeah, what can you do? And a lot of people finish uni and then go travelling, and then they kind of, it's not the travelling which I kind of, I don't want to say I have an issue with, or I question how that would suit myself. Like, I think it's this ideology that you finish uni, obviously you get a bit more finances during uni with student loan, you go travel Southeast Asia, you don't work, you drink, you maybe take some substances as well. I've heard that happens out there. I mean, it's like, oh, I need to get this out of the way before I go into my career. And it's like this big black cloud in the near future, which, like when you're on a little walk and you're like, oh, that's a dark cloud ahead, but you're currently in the blue skies. It's like, oh, my career. And I've always thought that was an interesting concept as well, because it's like, the way I always approached it was like, what life can I build for myself where I can have these dabbles of rain, because there's always going to be little dabbles of black clouds everywhere, but like where it's going to be like instead of it being like a really sunny day and I'm looking in the far distance and there's a black cloud and that's my career ahead, so I'm trying to get all my travelling, all my young 20s stuff currently done now, what can I do so it's a fresh, cold, crisp, blue-skied autumn morning? And then every now and again there's going to be a black cloud, of course. Every now and again it's going to get a bit hotter. But like, what can I do where I can just dissipate life experiences and what's very much like something I enjoy doing on a daily basis? And I don't want to use the word happiness and what makes me happy, because I think happiness is a little bit of a scam. I think happiness and sadness work quite antagonistically. I think with one you don't have the other. I think the better word would be contentness. And again, I very much think a good life can sometimes feel fairly boring, and especially if you've got the skills to kind of appreciate it. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of talk about a few concepts, including that one again, where it's like, instead of fantasizing about getting on a Raya flight constantly 24/7, can you water the grass where you are? And again, I'm sure that's really applicable into other things like relationships, whether that's applicable into friendships, whether that's applicable into, I don't know, career, again, just your mood in general. So yeah, there's kind of like a few little concepts we've been thinking about as of recently, which should set the tone for the podcast. I probably do need a little bit of a structure, because otherwise this car will just become an echo chamber of my thoughts, which sometimes can't be a nice place. But hopefully I kind of just wanted to provide a little bit of a genuine podcast. Like, and again, I was going to start this podcast with, oh fucking hell, another person making a podcast, Jesus. But let's have less of that negativity in this one. Like, I'm a bit of a chronic optimist, to be honest, at heart, and I wouldn't change that for the life of me, because I've been at the point before where I've been a horrendous pessimist. And like, I'd rather be a realist and an optimist than a pessimist and a realist, you know what I mean? So any day I'll wake up, I'll start screaming it's a good day to have a good day, because I always believe it is until you kind of find out otherwise. So yeah, like, again, this is just me being genuine. And I think that in a world of short form content and facades and people, especially in my industry, just not having any moral line, like, I think it's one of those things where I just wanted to say and be like, yeah, this is not even at half time about bodybuilding in this podcast, but it's just me chatting about life in general. We're currently 35 minutes in. Is that good enough to end a podcast? What's time? Well, it's currently 8 o'clock. I haven't had my dinner. I've currently pulled up to a little walk, so I might go for a little walk now. Oh, the light's gone off in my car. Sorry, visual users. I need to figure out a better lighting situation here, because maybe not do the podcast at 7:30, 8 at night. It's going to start getting darker as well, which is an interesting one, and I really prefer it a little bit towards autumn, where it's like a bit fresher. So yeah, you know what? I think that's been a good little yap. 36 minutes of yapping. I'll take that. I've done looms longer than this fucking podcast. A loom being a screen recording video I use for my online coaching business. But I think it's a good place to leave it. Okay? So I'm going to love you and leave you all. Wherever you are, whoever you are, have yourself a lovely day. Remember, it's always a good day to have a good day. Find a win, whatever that is. Whether that's getting out of bed, whether that is, I don't know, taking your vitamin C, taking your creatine, getting one more rep on one set in the gym. And yeah, much love, people. I don't really know what you're meant to leave on Spotify or I know YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Full War Sports, code Drew, hard body code Drew 10, everything like that. Spotify, I think you like and subscribe. I think it's like and like favourite or like download. But yeah, we'll fucking go from there, people. I'm going to try and make these every Thursday. Every Thursday or Friday. But I think Thursday's a good day to do it. So yeah, have yourself a wonderful day. And it's been beautiful. It's been a fucking dream.